starting with our next speaker. Last year, our theme for SoftCon was decoding AI. And as you know, AI has been a game changer for many industries and professions already, including the software industry and developers like all of you. So I am sure you will all find this next session on the new code order very interesting. Ladies, gentlemen, let us get to know more in the next presentation.
This talk explores the AI-driven future of software development, covering how it's transforming what developers build, how they build it, and how both companies and individuals can adapt to these changes. Our speaker is a seasoned technology leader with expertise spanning software engineering, cloud computing, and AI-driven innovations. As program director for Yondu University, he's at the forefront of shaping tech talent through continuous education. With a career that's reshaped industries, from logistics to e-commerce, he brings hands-on experience in deploying AI systems that are changing the face of software development. Please welcome Mr. Romabula Lacau.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. This is a very generous crowd. I'd like to start my talk with an introspection. And we're going to do this by asking ourselves two questions. The first question is, have you ever felt like the things are moving way too fast than we can adapt or catch up? Some nods in the audience. And the second question is, do you also feel like you're subscribed to way too many AI platforms at the moment? All right, more nods in the audience. So if you've answered yes to these two questions, especially on the first one, you're not alone, because according to an Institute of Global Leaders, the technology is moving at an accelerated rate, while the human's ability to adapt is at a steady, slow pace, making the gap between the technological advancements and our ability to adapt wider by the day. So my goal this afternoon is to try and help, hopefully each and every one, to navigate this ever-changing landscape. And my talk is divided into three parts. The first two parts is about how the technological advancements will impact what we develop and how we develop. The third part is about how we can prepare or adapt to these changing fronts. Okay, what we develop and how we develop. Everyone still oriented? Okay. All right, so we'll start with the first part, what we developed. And sure, there will still be, or we will still be building business applications, custom development, systems integrations. There will always still be that kind of development. However, from talking to a number of our clients recently, a certain class of requirements are beginning to emerge. And the conversations go something like this. We have already an existing system. We do not want to invest in a new one. We've customized it already to the point that it's tailored based on our operational needs. Our users are already so used to using these systems. And finally, we've already generated voluminous amounts of data sitting in our data warehouses. What do we do with this information or with this data? And we're serving primarily banking, financial services, and insurance. So my examples will be around that. But the types of, or the new class of requirements that are beginning to emerge on the use of this data revolve around these 6 things we found. Okay, so the first one is your usual analytics and insights, the ability to process natural language, the ability to detect fraud, risks, and other security threats. But I'd like to focus more on the other half. And this has something to do with automation, hyper-personalized customer journey, and intelligent business support. So if we take a look at a typical process flow of an insurance claim, it currently goes this way. So customers fill out a lengthy form, and the form gets submitted to a human agent, and the human agent will take a look, see, validate, check the information if it's complete, if it makes sense, before forwarding it to assessing the damage in case it's a, say for example, a car accident or something. And then it's going to assess the cost. And another human will decide whether to approve or reject the claim before deciding to pay out. And from what we're seeing, the conversations that we're having with our clients, they are now ready. They've prepared their data in the past few years. If you're involved in this space, you'll realize that they've begun cleaning up their data, putting their data in their warehouses a few years back, and now they are ready. So aside from the large enterprises that we are catering, we are also seeing similar demands from the emerging industries as well. So when I say that these are the types of requirements that we are now going to start to build. So for automation, several organizations already infuse their operations with RPA, robotic process automation. What will change is it's going to be infused now with agentic LLM, or agentic large language models. So right now, RPAs are based off of strict rules. And for those who know, we know that, or we notice that there are limitations in strict rules. And this will be addressed by large language models, where the RPAs, or the agents, the large language model agents, will take in as input a trigger, an event, or a user input, and that event will trigger a cascade of activities using a swarm of agents that are capable of deciding, coordinating, and collaborating amongst themselves and accomplishing a certain task. So these are the kinds of automation that we will begin to see. So right now, we are building that capability of in agentic large language models. These large language model agents will have a set of tools that we still have to program so that they are able to perform certain actions. Right? So that's for automation and optimization. We will also see a demand from our clients to have a personalized, not just messaging, but also the entire customer journey will be personalized. This will be made possible by integrating with large data sets that we now find in data marketplaces. The data that we get, the insights that we get from these large data sets from the different marketplaces, data marketplaces, will enable a highly personalized customer journey. And then the last conversation we have with most of our clients is about intelligent decision support. So the type of conversation we normally get from talking to our clients is, can you help us democratize the decision making? Because right now, the data or the insights are available solely on the executive level, on the senior management, maybe some management, but the demand is starting to become, can we extend this decision capability to the operational level, to the lowest ranks? And this involves understanding the context by which each personnel will work. Okay, so these are the kinds of requests that we are seeing from our clients. So this is the type of features, AI-powered features, that we are going to see from a software development standpoint. Okay, so looking back at the insurance claims processing, just to illustrate how this might change, the entire process, which is now mostly done by people, will be peppered with AI capabilities. So from submitting a lengthy form, the user will only have to submit certain documents, and an OCR would extract information, say from your government ID, and you no longer have to fill out your name, the date of birth, and so on. When you provide a description for the claim, the natural language processing module would extract information that it will send over to the next agent. And the next agent might no longer be human in this case. So this will be taken on, the inputs from the previous step will be taken on by an agentic LLM, which can decide whether there's fraud in this claim. It can decide already whether to forward it to the next step, and if it decides to do so, another agent will assess the damage based on the submitted photos. And it will assess the damage, the extent of the damage, and even compute for the cost of repair to the damaged property. And this will involve looking into the historical data and see and look for similar claims and decide on the estimate of the cost of repair. And then from there, it will forward it to another agent, which will be a recommendation engine. And it's going to provide a set of recommendations which the human will still decide. It's still important to have some human control. Even with the advent of these technologies, it's still important to have human controls sprinkled along this entire process. But you'll see that this will be assisted by recommendation engines. They'll probably provide, or the agent will probably provide 3 options, and each of these options will be given a confidence score. Something like, I'm 89% confident that this is the extent of damage, and this should be the cost of repair. The second option will say, this is probably the extent of the damage, and this is the cost of repair, and so on. And then the human will decide which option to take, and then from that decision, it will be forwarded to payout processing, and the payout processing will also be done by agentic LLM, and it will fill in the existing systems that the insurance company would have. So if they are keying in information to different systems, that can also be done in an automated way. So these are the types of projects that we are seeing from our clients. Everybody still oriented? Okay. All right, thank you for the feedback. This is not related to AI, but we are also seeing a shift in how we interact with our applications, or the way our end users interact with the applications that we build. I've been to several conventions, and I met some people who are now experimenting on formless interfaces as opposed to what we are used to, form-based interfaces. And this will come in the form, at least initially, it will come in the form of speech-to-text. So I guess the objective is to get your hands free and interact with the applications that we build using speech or voice. Okay, so we are also now exploring this seriously with Yondu. We are looking at the possible changes in how our end users might interact with the systems that we build. So we're piloting some applications where we take in speech as input. All right. So moving on to the next part, how we develop. This will also fundamentally change in the coming years. And we are feeling already these changes coming about. And there are several advancements here. I will only focus in the interest of time to AI-assisted coding, enhanced code review, and prompt-based development. So for AI-assisted coding, I'm only going to feature these capabilities: design-to-code translation and language conversion. For enhanced code review, I'm going to focus on detecting code smells and technical debt. And for prompt-based development, I'm going to focus on agentic code generation. So if you've noticed that I've been mentioning agents in the past few minutes, it's probably because we're seeing the trajectory of the development going in that direction, right? So let's take a look at design-to-code translation. What you're seeing on the left is a Figma design document of one of the applications that we built. This is an AI-assisted skills assessment. So what you're seeing on the left is a Figma design. And what you're seeing on the right is the translated code in Vue.js. And from our experience, we've tried this tool a couple of months ago, I think 3 or 4 months ago. And our experience with this tool, with this same tool, made us decide that this might not be worth looking into. This might not be worth evaluating at all. And yet, 3 months or 4 months later, we are blown away by its capabilities. So, sure, the tool is not perfect yet. I think this is common for the emerging tools. And what you're seeing here is that it's able to translate most of the design to an actual working screen or page, but it missed 2 things. The first one is the alignment of strengths and weaknesses, which can easily be corrected. And then the footer also spilled at the bottom. But that's about it. Okay? So our findings include, in terms of supporting major frameworks, development frameworks that we use, it supports React, Vue.js, even mobile frameworks. Some of these are in beta still, but at least for Yondu, this is really, really helpful. In fact, we tried this. We overpromised, I think, in one of our prospective clients a few weeks back. We promised 3 applications. Granted, we already have a working backend application, but we were able to develop all 3 applications: a public-facing web application, a mobile application, and a CMS. We were able to deliver it in 6 days with the help of these tools. Just 6 days. Granted, we have overtimes, but still, 6 days. Right? So our client was really, really delighted that after 2 weeks of meeting them, we were able to present these 3 applications. So all the major frameworks are supported. It has a compelling accuracy. From our experience, it's 90 to 95% accurate. The translation is 90 to 95% accurate. And sure, we still have to correct the 5 to 10%, but again, the numbers are very compelling. In fact, in one of the screens we did for the AI-assisted tool that I showed earlier, there is this one screen where when we translated it into an actual code, it only added, the only miss is it added an additional 1 pixel of space at the bottom. And up until today, we are unable to explain why there's an additional 1 pixel of white space, but that's about it. The rest is completely or accurately translated into code. Okay? And then it's able to sync to our favorite IDEs like Visual Studio Code. So we use primarily Visual Studio Code. So any changes you make within Figma is reflected in the IDE, and any changes you make in the IDE is reflected back in Figma. So making collaboration way, way faster. Of course, it comes with unsurprising limitations. This is still in its nascent stage. And sometimes, one of the limitations we found is it's only able to generate 1 screen at a time. It doesn't have the project context, and so therefore it's not able to create reusable components that you can use in other screens. So you still have to refactor. All in all, we saw about 30 to 50% productivity gains by using this tool. It doesn't practice dry or do not repeat yourself. So again, you still have to refactor. And of course, it doesn't connect to your backend. You still have to do that. It doesn't also support the JavaScript part. So if you have a sliding navigation bar, it's unable to support that, at least at the moment. So this is our evaluation of this design-to-code translation. I'll run through this quickly. We use an AI-enabled plugin in SonarQube to detect code smells and technical debts. And based on the recommendations, pwede na, right? That's the current state. I'm more interested, however, in discussing this third part. This is prompt-based development. So for some of you, you're probably familiar with this already. Some of you probably tried out some platforms out there. And prompt-based development, I'll say this on the get-go, it's not a one-shot development where you say, I'd like a Reddit-like application or a Facebook-like application, and voila, you have a copy of Facebook or Reddit. It's not like that. You still have to guide it. And I'll tell you what the journey is like, what the experience is like of using this tool. So for this, I personally tried acting like the product owner, and I described what I want to happen. And I did not directly prompt this to the platform that we're using, but instead we used another platform to translate that into an engineered prompt that can be better interpreted by this particular tool I'm showing you. So our experience is, if you put your description of the project that you want right away in this tool without the assistance of a prompt engineering AI, it will give you a mediocre result. So you're going to use a lot of tools, at least at this stage. No? So for this one, I acted as the product owner. I used an prompt engineering tool, and then I supplied that output to this tool, and it gave me an implementation plan. The implementation plan is in the form of what I can describe as similar to epics, and then you can still decide whether to add things, whether to remove things or modify a few things before hitting the green light. And once you green light it, there will be agents in the background that will create user stories per epic, and then tasks per user story, and then agents will take that up and start developing for you. In my experience, the output will still have bugs, but when I ask the tool to correct itself, it's able to. Okay, so here's our evaluation of that tool. It works for the most part, especially if you're working with a simple application. It works. You still need human intervention at the right spots, so this is good. And it has a built-in automation. I also am aware of another tool that will integrate an agent to project management tools like Jira and then GitLab. And then it's as if you have another junior software engineer that you can assign tasks to, and then it will give you a pull request and a merge request at the end. Okay, so we are seeing these things happening. There are unsurprising limitations as well. It's currently limited in tech stack and in deployment options. Right? For the third part, so how are we going to adapt? The things that we're going to build are changing. How we do things are changing. How do we adapt? I divided this into two parts, in the case of companies and in the case of individuals as well. For companies, here are some of my suggestions. We have to create AI-friendly processes. So we have to consider standardization and leveraging AI-based tooling. And this is going to be very critical in terms of our ability to compete. If we lag behind in terms of tooling, it can take away our competitive advantage. I also implore everyone to strengthen their data collection, because the old adage that that says garbage in and garbage out is still very much true. So if you have garbage data, you're going to get garbage recommendations and garbage output from your AI agents. I'm going to go over talent development. This is going to be very, very important, both as an organization and as individuals. In fact, Gartner recently released, last October 3, a study that says 80% of the engineering workforce will have to upskill until 2027. So I implore everyone to upskill, automate their training needs analysis, and have an automated skill competency assessment. You also have to find a reliable AI partner, and we found that in Alibaba. Alibaba is a cloud provider, a global that provides global infrastructure, and we like Alibaba because some of our clients are, or most of our clients are actually heavily regulated, and one of the requirements is data residency. So we have to keep things within the Philippines, and Alibaba provides that. Alibaba is also known across several verticals. And if you see a familiar logos there, especially with GCash, yes, GCash is running on Alibaba, most of its workloads. So we trust Alibaba that much. And it's emerging to become a global leader along with AWS, Azure, GCP. It's also, they also have compliance attestations and accreditations. This is to ensure that our data are secured. And one of the things I like as a technology practitioner myself is Alibaba provides several levels where you can meet them depending on your need. So if you need an infrastructure, Alibaba can meet you there. If you need to use their existing platforms, you do not want to meddle yourself with the infrastructure, they can meet you at the platform level. And if you're just building, say, for example, POCs, just like in our case in the Innovation Council in Yondu, we use the model as a service, wherein we just interact with the APIs. We don't care about the platforms. We don't care about the infrastructure. And Alibaba has this model, emerging model in Qwen2. And in most use cases, they are as good as all the large language models out there. And especially, Alibaba shines bright in terms of image processing and video processing. It's really good. So if you're dealing with media industry and entertainment industry, Qwen2 is performing very, very well in terms of in that industry. So for individuals, my suggestion is to focus on high-level problem solving instead of low-level function. You're going to worry about the functions. You'll have to start boosting your skills in systems design and architecture because the low-level programming will be handled by AI already. You'll have to cultivate your creativity in solving complex problems. So if you're the type of developer that simply copies and pastes code from the previous projects without thinking that much, that's going to be, that has to change. You also have to develop soft skills because for the most part, you'll now be collaborating. And you're going to let the agents do the work. I cannot emphasize this enough. Apart from me being the program director for Yondu University, continuous learning is very, very crucial in this changing software engineering landscape. And in fact, Yondu we created, the Innovation Council, which I'm heading, created Synapse. This is an AI-based skills assessment for precisely assessing skills proficiency and identifying gaps. And just to show you some of the features, we're able to set up the roles, say for example, full stack developer, and then we're able to connect to our HR and then check whether there are skill gaps between the role and the profile of the employee. We're able to track learning growth and provide some useful analytics. And the 3 parts here, assess skill proficiency level, identify gaps in proficiency, and recommend learning modules are all AI-driven. Okay, so the way we design our assessment is by following the Bloom's taxonomy. This is the taxonomy that's used by exam designers. So certification exam designers use Bloom's taxonomy. And we've mapped these levels of understanding or levels of knowledge from being able to remember, understand, apply, analyze, evaluate, and create. We mapped it with the proficiency level, whether you're novice all the way to expert. So this graph only shows that as you answer more questions, it's getting more and more confident about the assessment in proficiency level, in identifying your proficiency level. So this is Synapse in action. We're able to set up the role and the list of required skills and proficiency level. And this one shows you the current proficiency level of this person. And the assessment is also AI generated. The questions are AI generated. And we connect to our training materials. This is not a hallucination. This is not a result of hallucination of most large language models. These are actually based on our very own training materials. And even the timer is AI determined. So the duration that's allowed for you to answer the question is determined by the AI depending on the difficulty. And how fast you answer and whether you got the question right or wrong will change the types of questions you'll get in the succeeding questions. It shows the result and it shows the weaknesses and strengths of the developer or the resource. And it's also able to generate AI recommended learning modules. This is a sample of that. And we're able to track the growth of the resource. So in this case, you're looking at the proficiency level growth using the graph for React Native. And it shows that he moved from novice to expert after taking several assessments. It's also able to know where you stand within the whole company, if you're in the upper tier or in the lower tier. This is more for the organization. It's able to show you the distribution of the skill portfolio and the skill proficiency. It's able to identify who are the novices and who are the experts. So to summarize, we've covered that the technological advancements will make changes or will impact what we develop, how we develop. I've also provided some recommendations on how we can adapt. So I'd like to leave this afternoon's audience with the following quote. At the heart of this AI revolution, if we can call it that, is not a supercharged machine, but a fundamental human drive to solve problems. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Romel Bulalakaw, Program Director, Technology Group, Yondu, for giving us ideas and the possibilities of AI development and through sharing your AI expertise and possible ways to cope and adapt since the gap is widening these days.